What if I told you the moment you need her, you've already lost her? Let that sink in. You don't earn power by chasing a woman. You gain it by stepping away calm, certain, untethered. The second she feels you depend on her more than you depend on yourself, she loses respect. And once respect is gone, attraction follows. They told you that love means giving everything, that being available, agreeable, soft, emotionally open, would make her stay. But tell me this, did it ever work? Or did she walk away the moment you gave too much? That's not love. That's emotional exposure without self-worth. This world has fed men lies. To be the nice guy, to seek validation, to prove yourself worthy. And they called it romance. But here's the truth. The more you orbit around her, the more invisible you become. This video isn't for men looking for tricks. It's for men who are ready to stop shrinking, for those tired of bending, explaining, chasing, and hoping. This is your wake-up call. Not to become heartless, but to become whole. She doesn't want a man who needs her. She wants a man who could walk away mid-sentence and never look back, because he knows his value isn't rooted in her reaction. That kind of man doesn't chase, he leads, and if she aligns, she follows. If not, he keeps walking grounded and unfazed. In this video, I'll show you how to gain real power, not through manipulation, not through games, but by mastering yourself so deeply that her presence becomes a bonus, never your foundation. If that speaks to you, if you're done living for attention and ready to live from intention, comment below. I choose power, then subscribe to this channel. Not just to watch, but to build, because power isn't something you ask for, it's something you become. Number 1. Stop needing her. The very moment she senses that you need her more than she respects you, something inside her begins to fade. It's not romantic. It's not poetic. It's psychological gravity. Once broken, it rarely returns. The second your behavior starts orbiting her attention, her moods, her validation, you begin to shrink in her perception, not because she's cruel, but because you've unknowingly taught her that your center depends on her. She can feel it in your tone, in how fast you reply, in how you adjust your whole day around her inconsistency, and whether she says it or not, you've handed over your power without her asking. From that point forward, you are no longer a man in command of his presence. You're a background character, a cushion, a comfort object, something she can pick up and put down at will. And here's the part no one wants to hear. A woman cannot truly love a man who does not lead himself if you're acting like a lost boy, waiting for her reassurance, texting her all day, asking for her thoughts before making any move, waiting endlessly for a reply. That's not devotion, that's dependence. And dependency is the death of desire, because what that tells her without words is this: I don't have a life without you. And instead of making her feel loved, it makes her feel trapped. She didn't walk into your world to rescue you. She was drawn in by your fire, your vision, your independence, your direction. She stayed because you were whole before she arrived. But when you start making her your mission, when she becomes your oxygen, you stop being a man and start becoming a shadow. That's not love. That's emotional self-destruction. If you want her to be drawn to you like gravity, you must become unmoved. Not in apathy, but in stability. Not cold, not harsh, but rooted. She must know without a doubt that if she disappears tomorrow, your world will not collapse. It will continue grounded, Unshaken, because that's where attraction lives, in the calm dominance of a man who does not need to chase, because he has already chosen himself. But here's the hard truth. To stop needing her, you must rebuild yourself from the inside out. Withdraw your emotional investment from her. Stop measuring your worth by how she reacts. Stop checking if she viewed your story. Stop rereading old texts, dissecting silence, and calling it love. Every second you spend analyzing her is a second stolen from your own growth. And if you don't protect your growth, no one else will. So get obsessed, not with her, but with becoming the kind of man who turns heads without saying a word, obsessed with skill, purpose, wisdom, obsessed with becoming so self-possessed that your energy shifts rooms. Wake before the sun. Move until your lungs ache. Read until your excuses burn away. Study Stoicism, war strategy, psychology. Consume what sharpens you. Cut what drains you. Men who gossip, women who confuse, habits that numb. Build your vision like an empire, because that's what it is. And track your habits like your future depends on them, because it does. Above all, suffer voluntarily. Train your mind to endure. Discomfort must become your teacher, not your enemy, because the man who can sit still in chaos will never be shaken by a woman's silence. He is the rock, he is the standard, he is the frame she subconsciously respects, even when she tests him, challenges him, pulls away from him. She won't tell you this, but she's craving the man who doesn't flinch when she's distant, who doesn't collapse when she's cold, who says no and means it, not to hurt her, but because he refuses to betray himself. You become that man by reclaiming everything you've outsourced to her attention, the laughter you forced to please her, the apologies you gave when you weren't wrong, the energy you wasted explaining yourself to someone who had no intention of understanding. Take it all back. Stop needing her. Start needing your own respect, more than her affection. Because when you make that shift, from craving love to commanding power, she will feel it. She won't admit it, but her behavior will change. She'll text quicker, speak softer, lean in, not because you pushed her, but because your presence made her feel safe without needing to prove anything. This isn't about turning cold. It's about becoming whole, because true love cannot bloom in insecurity. It grows only in solid ground. You must become so rooted in your identity that if the entire world walks away, you remain. If you wake up needing her to complete you, you'll always be half a man. But if you build yourself brick by brick until your presence alone commands silence, you'll never need to chase again, because everything worthy will come to you. That's how you gain power over a woman, not by holding her tight, but by holding yourself together. Not by proving your worth, but by becoming so valuable you don't have to explain it. Don't text her, text your future. Don't wait for her call. Answer your calling. Don't beg to be chosen. Choose yourself so fully that she has no choice but to respect you. She doesn't want to save you. She wants to rise beside you. She wants to feel inspired by your presence, not burdened by your insecurity. But she can only do that if you stop checking her emotions before you move and start moving like a man she can trust to lead. Number 2, master your mind. Before you can lead her, you must lead yourself. And before you can lead yourself, you must master what no one else sees: your thoughts, your impulses, your reactions. That is where the real war is fought. Not in words, not in effort to impress her, but in silence, where your emotions wrestle with your mission. She doesn't trust the man who talks the loudest. She trusts the one who remains calm in chaos, the one who doesn't flinch when things don't go his way, the one who doesn't lose himself in the fire because he's built to walk through it. You don't earn her respect by trying to manage her moods or decode her silence. You earn it by mastering your own mind. Let's be clear. The real battlefield is never between you and her. It's between you and your own reactions, between your ego and your discipline, between your feelings and your values. That's the war. Every man must win alone. If every cold text makes you spiral, if her silence shifts your entire emotional state, if you need her to be warm for you to feel stable, then you've given away your greatest weapon, your inner peace. That kind of man becomes predictable, reactive, weak, not because he lacks love, but because he lacks grounding. She can feel it in how quickly you reply, in the tone of your voice, in how much of your identity is wrapped around her presence. But here's the truth. She'll never say out loud, she doesn't want a man who depends on her emotional temperature to function. She wants a man who is unmoved, not detached, rooted, grounded in who he is, unshakable. Most men don't lose women because they weren't attractive. They lose them because they couldn't lead themselves when it mattered most. They panic when tested. They chase when pulled away. They fold when challenged, not realizing those tests were the interview. She was trying to see if the man she saw was real or just an illusion built on attention and performance. You want to win her? Then stop performing. Stop reacting. Stop living like your value comes from her approval. Start observing your thoughts the way a warrior watches the horizon, calm, alert, never jumping at shadows. Let your doubts speak, but never let them command. When she challenges your ego, pause, breathe, respond like a man who doesn't need to prove anything. When she pulls back, don't chase, don't plead, don't explain. Hold your frame and let her return to the gravity you've spent years building. That's what she's watching. Not your words, not your compliments, not the flowers or the good morning texts. She's watching one thing. Can this man be shaken? And you can't fake that. Either you've built that stillness or you haven't. And if you haven't, start today. Start by killing the boy who reacts. The one who gets triggered, jealous, offended, emotional at every shift in her tone. That boy cannot lead. That boy gets dragged. You don't need to send that angry paragraph. You don't need to check her stories. You don't need to explain your worth to someone who's undecided. Your stillness is your power. Reaction is weakness disguised as passion. If she knows she can pull you, she will. Not because she wants to break you, but because she needs to know she can trust you not to break. But when you remain still, when you sit with the discomfort without flinching, when you let her pull away and you don't chase, that's when she leans in. That's when she begins to respect you on a level even she doesn't understand. Because women aren't drawn to words. They're drawn to weight, emotional weight. Presence, silence that speaks louder than validation. And that kind of presence, it's forged, not inherited. You build it through repetition, discipline, suffering. You build it every time you wake up and do what needs to be done without applause. You go to the gym when your mind makes excuses. Because a strong body trains a focused mind. You build it in meditation. When you breathe through the storm in your head, you journal your thoughts, not to vent, but to witness. You don't believe everything you feel. You examine it. You build it in philosophy, reading men who came before you, who conquered kingdoms within themselves, and wrote not to entertain, but to guide. You build it when you say no to pleasure, so you can say yes to purpose. You build it when you choose discomfort over distraction, when you walk away from temptation, not because it wasn't tempting, but because you made a promise to your future self. Mastering your mind isn't just stoicism, it's manhood. It's being the one who leads quietly, not needing validation, but commanding respect through clarity. It's understanding that she is not your compass. You are. She doesn't define your direction. Your value do. Your mission is your map. Your emotions are data, not directions. Feel them, yes, but do not follow them blindly. You must learn to feel deeply, but respond rarely, to sit in the fire of your own thoughts without needing to be seen, to endure the silence without broadcasting your struggle. The man who can sit in a storm and smile, that man owns every room he enters, not by force, but by presence. Nothing is more magnetic to a woman than a man she cannot emotionally destabilize, not because he's cold, but because he is complete. That presence, it gives her permission to be soft, to relax, to surrender, because she knows if you can't lead yourself, you'll never be able to lead her. Discipline is how you begin. It's in the morning you wake up without snoozing, the gym session you attend without motivation, the conversations you choose to ignore, the arguments you choose not to entertain. Every time you seek comfort, you weaken. Every time you endure pressure, you grow. Starve the child in you who needs constant reassurance. Feed the warrior who thrives in stillness. You are not here to react to life. You are here to respond to purpose, and purpose begins with practice. Build your principles, live by them ruthlessly. Make your actions louder than your promises. Make your mornings sacred, make your words rare. Let your boundaries speak before you ever need to. Refuse to react. Refuse to explain. Refuse to shrink. You're not here to be understood. You're here to become undeniable. And when she sees that, when she watches you, remain calm while the world spins around you. She won't distance herself. She'll draw closer, because you've become the lighthouse in her storm, not the man begging to be loved, but the man who leads without asking, not through dominance, but through inner certainty. That's how you gain power over a woman, not by controlling her, but by being so deeply rooted in who you are that she wants to follow your lead. Not because you chased her, but because you became impossible to ignore. And finally, real strength isn't how you act when she's around. It's how you carry yourself when she's gone silent, when you feel the urge to reach out, but choose to rise instead, when you crave recognition, but walk in silence with power. She doesn't need a man who reacts. She needs a man who leads from within. And you don't become that man by watching content or memorizing quotes. You become him by showing up when no one's watching, by creating rituals, by building non-negotiables, by leading yourself so powerfully that the world bends to your presence. When she returns, and she will, she won't question your worth again, because the kind of stillness you carry doesn't just earn respect, It changes everything. She doesn't want to mother you. She wants to mirror you, and that mirror must reflect strength, order, and unwavering clarity. Build that quietly, daily, permanently. Number 3, she thought you'd never walk. If you don't control the frame, you don't exist in her reality. You become a background character in the world. She dominates. She won't follow a man who bends. She won't trust a man who edits his values just to keep her. She needs to see that you stand for something unshakable. Not just words, but actions. Because every time you give up your principles for her comfort, her respect for you dies a quiet death. Not because she hates you, but because on a primal level, you no longer feel safe. Frame isn't about dominance. It's not about controlling her emotions. It's about controlling your direction. The man who holds frame doesn't shout. His stillness speaks louder than noise. His boundaries are silent signals of power. She can tell when you're grounded, and when you're just trying not to upset her. She might not say it out loud, but she feels the difference between a man who leads and a man who pleads. She notices when you stop enforcing respect. She remembers when you start tolerating things you used to reject. She watches, not to punish you, but because she's trying to see if you're still the man she once admired. You see, women don't follow emotion. They follow certainty, and certainty is born from your ability to walk away, when walking away is what's required. Not with anger, not to manipulate, but because your values are not for sale, not even to the woman you love. Frame isn't arrogance, it's awareness. It's the discipline of holding your ground when emotions rise. When she throws attitude, silence, or distance, she's not just acting out, she's testing. And the question she's really asking is, are you still who you said you were? If you fold, she files it away. If you explain things you shouldn't have to explain, or justify what should never be tolerated, you begin to dissolve in her eyes, because power never begs. It never apologizes for integrity, and it never rationalizes betrayal. Holding frame means knowing exactly what you value, and never making it negotiable. You don't explain your standards. You live by them. You don't prove your worth. You become so deeply anchored in it. It speaks before you do. She doesn't fall for flexibility. She falls for foundation. The man who can say no without losing composure, that man shifts everything, because few men can say no without anger, without insecurity. But when you do, with calm, quiet certainty, she leans in, because in that moment, she meets something rare, a man who is the chooser, not the applicant. You're not applying to be in her life. You're inviting her into yours, and your life has a gravitational pull of its own. If you say you don't tolerate disrespect, don't tolerate it. If you say your mission comes first, live like it does. If you claim loyalty is non-negotiable, don't flinch when it's tested. She will test your frame, not because she wants to leave, but because she wants to believe. Every time you hold the line, she gains trust in your strength, but fold even once, and something in her shifts. Frame isn't built through force. It's built through direction. It's in knowing so deeply where you're going that she either joins your path or watches you walk it without her. You're not here to adapt to her chaos. You're here to invite her into your clarity. And if she can't rise to meet you, you let her go. Not in bitterness, but in peace. Because when you truly know your path, you also know Not everyone is meant to walk it with you. Audit your life like a king audits his court. Who adds to your purpose? Who drains your power? Who honors the kingdom? And who poisons it behind your back? You don't beg people to stay. You build such a powerful life that their absence is their loss, not yours. That's frame. You don't bend your life to win approval. You live so boldly that only those aligned with your mission can stay. And when she feels that, when she senses your stillness isn't an act, she softens. She submits not to you, but to the order you've created. That's not coldness, that's strength. And that strength, that's what makes her finally exhale. Because deep down, she never wanted to lead. She was waiting to follow a man who knows exactly where he's going. But she can't follow you. If you place her above your purpose, she can't trust you. If you abandon the very compass she was trying to follow, love her fully, but never more than your path. Because once she sees that even her love can't move your direction, that's the moment she chooses to walk with you. Not because you asked, but because you earned it. Number 4, you chose silence over chaos. You don't lead by chasing, you lead by standing so firm in your values that she either aligns or fades, and either way, you remain centered. Leadership isn't about how loud you are, it's in your presence, your discipline, your unwavering direction. The man who leads doesn't explain himself endlessly. He doesn't shower her with gifts or beg her to stay. He walks with such powerful certainty that her only options are to rise and follow or be left behind. And deep down, she knows this, even if she can't explain it. Because when you chase, you reverse the roles. You place her in the position of control, giving her the pen and asking her to write the script. And she resents it. Not because she doesn't care, but because leadership is what inspires trust. And chasing is the opposite of leadership. It says, I don't believe in my own worth, so I need you to validate it. But when you stop looking for her validation and start chasing your own excellence, everything shifts. You become the gravity, not the pursuer. You stop running toward her and start running toward your mission. And that's when she sees you. Not when you beg, not when you text paragraphs, but when you build in silence, when your presence speaks louder than anything you could say. True attraction doesn't begin with pressure. It begins with purpose. She doesn't want a man who needs her to complete him. She wants a man so complete in himself that she feels safe just standing near his energy. Not overwhelmed, but inspired. So build your life so solidly that your silence commands respect. Not because you're cold, but because you're clear. Because you're focused on becoming, not convincing. Your discipline becomes your magnet. Your purpose becomes your offer. Your boundaries become the frame through which she sees your value. She won't say it, but she'll feel it. She'll sense that your time is earned, not handed out, that your energy is sacred, not scattered, that your presence is rare and not to be taken lightly. And if she can't see that, she's not ready. And you don't pause for the unready. You don't water yourself down to be digestible. You keep evolving. You get stronger. You chase mastery, not women. You refine your focus. You sculpt your body into a fortress. You cultivate a network so powerful that your name opens doors long after you've left the room, all while staying kind, but immovable, loving, but untouchable. You don't chase because the right woman never requires you to lose yourself. She must earn your time, just as you earn hers. She must rise to your standards, not pull you into her chaos. She must meet your presence with reverence, not manipulation, because the man who leads without chasing doesn't need to control. He inspire surrender. He creates the space where trust can grow, and that space can't be faked. She respects the man who moves without explanation, who lives in such alignment with his mission that her curiosity replaces her doubt. That's when she starts to soften, not because you convinced her, but because you never stopped being him. You lead without chasing when your life is so rich that even if she walked today, nothing collapses, because your foundation was never built on her presence. It was built on your purpose. You are the man who adds peace, not confusion, structure, not noise, direction, not distraction. And that kind of man, that level of masculine presence, can't be bought, taught, or forced. It's forged. In the reps, you count when no one is watching. In the mornings, you wake up early without applause. In the hours, you reflect when no one's listening. In the discomfort, you embrace without complaint. You lead without chasing by being so rooted in growth that you forget to look over your shoulder to see if she's watching. Because the truth is, she always is, watching how you respond to distance, how you handle silence, how you lead when no one is following. And when she sees it, when she truly feels that your value was never in the pursuit, but in the presence you carry, she shifts. Her tone softens, her defense lower. She leans in, she initiates, not because you chased, but because you never stopped leading. And in that moment, the power returns, not as dominancy, but as natural order. You weren't meant to stand behind her. You weren't meant to follow her moods. You were meant to lead, ahead, in clarity, with conviction. You weren't born to chase her love, or to beg for a place in her life. You weren't made to shrink for the comfort of others. You were built to stand tall, unapologetically, unshaken, not to blend in, but to build a world so solid, it pulls others into your gravity. The moment you stop needing approval is the moment the world starts respecting you. You don't have to speak louder to be heard. You just have to move with so much clarity, peace, and purpose that your presence alone commands attention. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be progressing. One step, every day. The real shift happens when you stop waiting to be chosen and you start choosing yourself. You stop asking for validation and you start validating your own mission with your actions, your discipline, your silence. That's when women notice. That's when doors open. Not because you begged for it, but because your energy started speaking louder than your voice ever could. You don't need her to see your worth. You need to become the man who lives it so clearly that anyone who doubts it becomes irrelevant. That transformation doesn't require a crowd. It doesn't require applause. It happens in the dark, in early mornings, in cold showers, in hard conversations you don't avoid anymore. You build that version of yourself in solitude, the man who doesn't settle, doesn't chase, and never apologizes for being deeply grounded in who he is. You're not here to please. You're here to lead. And leadership doesn't chase. It invites. It stands firm. It walks forward without turning back. So, if this message stirred something inside you, don't ignore it. Don't let it fade. Let this be your turning point. Like this video. If you're done chasing validation, drop a comment below that says, "I'm becoming the man I was born to be." Subscribe if you're ready to stop living for her approval and start leading your own life. Share this with a brother who needs to hear it. who's been silent for too long, waiting for the world to see him. Let them see you now. Not because you screamed for attention, but because you walked in power,